What's the deal? It's your boy, Mr. Will. And you are now tuned in to Wilson Block 1000 Radio. And look, man, I gotta just, update the podcast, man, and bring y'all up to speed on, the latest and greatest. And there's a particular topic I want to bring to light right now, and I think it needs to be brought up because it's suspiciously unusual, okay, how Governor of California, Gavin Newsom, has a podcast. Okay, now I'm not really sure if anyone's really covered this, okay, but given the recent legal case that I've been involved in, the criminal matter, okay, I've done a lot of research, a lot of reading between the lines, okay, and we've been watching, what I'm saying, the actions of, politicians and whatnot, what I'm saying. Gavin Newsom in particular, being, a governor, what I'm saying, is never, it's never too long before, he's in the headlines, okay? And there's just a very particular thing that he's doing that I think needs to be brought to light. Okay, now me personally, I'm not a fan of Gavin Newsom. I didn't vote for him. I started moving, going up to Seattle every summer and fall. And I mean, I came back to California one year and he was like already governor. Okay, and I wasn't really paying attention to politics at that time. And so, before I knew it, he was already the governor. And basically, what Gavin Newsom is doing is he's podcasting, okay? And there's nothing inherently wrong with, him podcasting, but I do think it's highly unusual for the governor to be podcasting, okay? We're talking about a governor here, okay? Aren't you busy? Okay, I mean, I think he's really running with the whole personality aspect, the celebrity aspect of being a governor, okay? And a lot of it's just, for vanity and for show, in my opinion, okay? Now, the reason why I wanted to bring this topic up is because, the saying, you tell a lie long enough, people believe it, right? And then, Gavin Newsom says one thing, and his record reflects something totally different, right? So I'm basically suspicious that Gavin Newsom has started a podcast because he knows his record is so bad that his strategy is basically putting out false narratives, right? He's using false narratives. He's using a podcast to develop false narratives to basically combat his bad record, right? Because, what's on record is on record, right? It's happened, right? It's already taken place. And I just think that, every time I, watch Gavin Newsom, listen to Gavin Newsom, or read about Gavin Newsom, particularly when I watch him, to me, man, he's just very disingenuous. There's something about this guy that is just not honest, right? Either not honest or he's really just not the guy for this job, right? Now, his appearance, okay, he appears to be a very savvy individual, right? He has the look as if, he's like a smooth criminal, okay? And, I don't want to be, come off as like too prejudicial or too judgmental. I want to keep it objective, okay? But I also want to, go ahead and share my opinion as well. And I just feel like, Gavin Newsom podcasting, he's using false narratives, okay, to doctor up his bad record, right? Because if anyone, any Californian who's paying attention, or anyone who visits California and has contrast will be able to see that, hey, we got, the fentanyl epidemic. We got people crapping on the streets. I mean, we got homelessness like never before. And one thing that I want to say about Gavin Newsom is that, every time he's challenged, right? Every time somebody calls him on his bad record, he always counters with, a whole bunch of successes that he's had. And again, those are just narratives, and some may be true, but the gist of it is narrative, right? And I would opine to say that, true leaders know how to take accountability. In my opinion, I'm just wondering, like, what is so wrong with, Gavin Newsom just saying something to the effect of, okay, yeah, this thing may have happened. And you know what? I take accountability for that. I'm the governor and it's my responsibility. At the same time, X, Y, and Z, whatever. Okay. But I've never actually heard this man take accountability. Okay. Take responsibility for, the conditions of your state, right? And so when you look back on all of his press, right, all you have is him just using false narratives to counter, the challenges against him, right, coming from other people. And, again, I just think it's disingenuous of Gavin Newsom. And, listen, I hope this man does not run for president. That will not be good news. I know that there's a lot of narratives going around that Gavin Newsom is positioning himself to run for president in 2028. I'm going to go ahead and say it. It's no secret, to anyone who really knows me, that, I think Ron DeSantis should be the president, okay, in 2028, okay, and that's just my opinion, okay, and, I would love to go down the rabbit hole with anybody who would want to challenge my opinion on that, and that's all fine, okay, but again, Gavin Newsom, okay, is a horrible governor. Okay, he's appointed. He only appoints Democratic judges. Okay, and all of his appointments, have been one-sided on the Democratic side, right? And we got to talk about why democracy, is really anti-American. Okay, I'll save that. That's a whole different discussion. So I don't want to speculate right now. I don't want to get into that right now. I'll just speculate. I'll get into that later. But again, Gavin Newsom needs to fall back off the podcasting. Okay, what governor has time to podcast, right? And I think it's cool, that being that he's podcasting, that he brings people on. He had Charlie Kirk on there, rest in peace, and was open to, being challenged. You know what I'm saying? And having to defend himself, on that record of the podcast or whatever. But again, I think podcasting for a governor is a distraction. Okay. And, I just think this guy's done a terrible job. Okay. I don't believe he's trustworthy. And I would go so far as to speculate, okay, that, under the administration of Gavin Newsom, this man is basically defrauding the taxpayer, when it comes to, the way that he's running California. Okay. And, I can get more into that for anyone who wants to, explore my assertion there, but I'm going to keep it just about this. I'm going to keep it just about Gavin Newsom podcasting on this episode. And, I can't wait till this guy is out of office. Okay. It's your boy, Mr. Will. That's the deal, man. Until next time, I'm out.